Alright, so today we're going to be talking about dividing fractions. And this should be on page 42 in your notebook. Alright, so dividing fractions. How do we divide fractions? You do not need a common denominator, just like in multiplying fractions, you do not need a common denominator. Right? You're going to keep the first fraction the same. You're going to find the reciprocal of the second fraction. Well, what is a reciprocal? Alright, the reciprocal is the number we multiply by another number to get the answer to be 1. So, what is the reciprocal of 2/9? Well, the reciprocal of 2/9 is when you actually flip the fraction. So instead of saying 2 over 9, we say 9 over 2. And if I multiply 2/9 times 9 over 2, I'm going to get 1. So we multiply the top. 2 times 9 is 18. And 9 times 2 is 18. Well, 18 divided by 18 is going to be 1. So I'm going to get an answer to be 1. 1/6, the reciprocal of 1/6 is going to be 6 over 1. So if I multiply 1 over 6 times 6 over 1, I'm going to get 6 over 6, and that's going to be 1. 15, what's the reciprocal of 15? Like I said in the multiplication video, if you have a whole number, you want to put that over 1. And then what is the reciprocal of that whole number? Would be 1 over 15. So if you multiply 15 times 1 is 15, and 1 times 15 is 15. Well, 15 divided by 15 equals 1. Okay? Well, what if you have a mixed number? Well, first of all, I'm going to put that mixed number into an improper fraction first. So if I want to find the reciprocal of a mixed number, I always have to put the mixed number into an improper fraction. So remember, to get a mixed number into an improper fraction, I'm multiplying the denominator times the whole number, which is 16. So 8 times 2 is 16. And then I'm going to add on the numerator. So 16 plus 5 is going to be 21. So 21 over 8 is the same thing as saying in 2 and 5/8. But what is the reciprocal of that? The reciprocal of 21 over 8 is 8 over 21. And if I multiply those two numbers together, I'm going to get 1 as my answer. So again, the reciprocal is going to be the number we multiply by another number to get the answer. So in dividing fractions, once we find the reciprocal of the second fraction, we're going to multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction. Follow multiplication rules. Remember, in the multiplication rules, you're going to multiply the numerators together and then the denominators together and then simplify. So let's practice a few together. So the first one is 5/12 divided by 5/6. So we want to keep the first fraction, right? Then we want to change the division sign to multiplication. That means we're going to just multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. The second fraction is 5/6. So basically I'm flipping it. So that's going to be 6 over 5. And then I just multiply. I multiply 5 times 6 is going to be 30. And then I'm going to multiply 12 times 5, which gives me 60. So I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to have 30 over 60, but I can actually simplify that because 30 can go into 30 and 60 can go into 60. So 30 divided by 30 is 1, and 60 divided by 30 is 2. Or, what I told you before, what you can do is you can simplify before you multiply. So check the diagonals. Is there a number that can go in both 5 and 5? Yes, there is. 5 can go into 5. How many times? 1. And how many times does 5 go into 5? 1. And check the other diagonal. 6 and 12. Well, both numbers can be simplified or be divided by 6. So 6 divided by 1 is 1. And 12 divided by 6 is 2. So multiply the top numbers. 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 1 is 2. So either way, as long as it's simplified. Let's look at the next example. 4/9 divided by 2/3. So you're going to keep the first fraction, which is 4/9, and then you're going to multiply the second fraction by the reciprocal. So multiplication sign, 2/3. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. And then I'm going to multiply like normal. I can either multiply and then simplify. So 4 times 3 is going to be 12. And 9 times 2 is going to be 18. So I would get 12/18, and then I'll have to simplify. So 12 and 18, what goes into 12 and 18? 6 can go both into 12 and 18 is 6. So 12 divided by 6 would give me 2, and 18 divided by 6 would give me 3. Or I can check the diagonals. 4 and 2, what number can go in? 4 and 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Check the other one. 3 and 9. Well, 3 can go into both. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. We got 2 times 1 is 2. And then 3 times 1 is 3. So same thing. So it's your choice. It's either you want to multiply first and then simplify, or simplify first and then multiply. It's up to you what you feel comfortable with. But you have to make sure your fraction is simplified if necessary. Number 3, 8/11 times 2/7. So again, you're going to keep the first fraction, and you're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So 2/7, the reciprocal of 2/7 is 7/2, and then you're going to multiply. So if you multiply, I can multiply 8 times 7 would give me 56, and then 11 times 2, which is 22. So I would have 56/22, and then I would have to simplify. Or I would have to divide both top and bottom by 2, and I would get an improper fraction. You know this is an improper fraction. Or you can simplify and then multiply. So 7 and 11, there's nothing can go in 7 and 11, but I know that 2 and 8, something can go into an 8, and I can divide by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 4 times 7 is 28, and 11 times 1 is 11. That's an improper fraction. I can change that into a mixed number. So even with 56/22, if I divide both top and bottom by 2, I'm going to get 28/11. So how many times can 11 go into 28? Well, that's 2 times. So 11 and 28 is going to be 2. Well, 2 times 11 is 22. 28 minus 22 is going to give me 6. So I have 6/11 is my mixed number. So check it. You can also check your mixed number to see if you get your improper fraction. Well, 11 times 2 is 22, and 22 plus 6 is 28, which is the same thing as 28/11. Alright, 3/16 divided by 1/4. So again, keep the first fraction and multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So 1/4 is going to be 4/1. Okay? So I'm going to simplify this one because I know that 4 and 16, you can divide both numbers by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. And then I multiply. 3 times 1 is 3, and 4 times 1 is 4. 3/4. Okay. Let's look at how you would divide mixed numbers. Alright, remember, no common denominator. Alright, with a mixed number, just like multiplying fraction, so you must convert each mixed number to an improper fraction. Follow your division rules and simplify. So for 1 1/5 divided by 2/3, the first thing you need to make sure is to make sure if there's a mixed number, it's an improper fraction. So 1 1/5 into an improper fraction. Again, 5 times 1 plus 1 gives me 6 over 5. Now I'm going to keep that division sign there. I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to change it yet. Okay? So I want you to make sure you just replace the mixed number with an improper fraction first. I'm just going to rewrite. Okay? Now, after you change everything into an improper fraction, you're going to do your division rules. So, you're going to keep the first fraction, 6 over 5, and then multiply by the reciprocal. Reciprocal of 2/3 is 3 over 2. And then multiply. Okay? So, I'm going to multiply. 6 times 3 is going to be 18. And then 5 times 2 is 10. Now I can reduce that 18 over 10 by 2. Well, 18 divided by 2 is going to be 9. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. I can change 9/5 into an improper fraction. So 5 into 9 goes once. And 1, and then 4 left over for 5ths. Check if it's 9/5. So 5 times 1 is 5 plus 4 is 9. 9/5 is the same thing as 1 1/4. Alright, what about 3/4 divided by 2 1/3? Okay, again, the first number is a proper fraction, so I don't need to change that. So I'm just going to rewrite it. Keep your division sign until you change all the mixed numbers into an improper fraction. So 2 1/3 is a mixed number. So 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So 2 1/3 equals 7 over 3. Then you're going to keep the first fraction. Change the division sign to multiplication and then flip the second fraction. So again, I'm going to do 3/4 multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction, which is 7 over 3 equals 3 over 7. Then multiply. So then I would get 3 times 3 up top would be 9. And then 4 times 7 is 28. And this is simplified because nothing can go in top or bottom except for 1. Okay? Alright, what about fractions, dividing fractions by whole numbers? Change the whole number to a fraction with a denominator 1, just like I said in multiplying fractions. When you have a whole number, put the whole number over 1. So in this example, 5 and 1/8. So 5, put a 1 under it. Divided by 1/8. Okay? Then follow your division rules. So that would be, you would write it as, I'm gonna rewrite it over here. So 5 over 1, and then multiply by the reciprocal. And the reciprocal of 1/8 is 8 over 1. And then you would say 5 times 8 is 40. 40 over 1 is the same thing as 40. Okay? So 1/8, how many times? 1/8 goes into 5 40 times. Alright, 1 2/3 is a mixed number. You want to change that into an improper fraction. Divide by 6. So you got to do 2 things before you divide. You have to change the 1 2/3 into an improper fraction, and then you got to put the 6 over 1. Okay? So before you even change anything to multiplication, take care of your improper fraction, changing everything into proper fraction first. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So 1 2/3 is 5 over 3 divided by, and the 6 goes over 1. 6 over 1. Okay, see, I did not even do anything yet to do division. I just changed the mixed number into an improper fraction and put a 1 under the 6. Then I'm going to keep change flip. So I'm going to keep the first fraction, which is 5/3, and then multiply by the reciprocal of 6 over 1. The reciprocal of 6 over 1 is 1 over 6. And then 5 times 1 is 5, and 3 times 6 is 18. And I don't need to simplify that, because there's no number that can go in both the top and bottom but 1. So that is dividing fractions video. And again, when you come into class, you need to be prepared how to divide fractions.